Hey everyone, I'm Lauren Parker. I'm a Platinum Premier with the team Honey Honey Hive, and I wanted to do a quick video for you because I can't seem to go live today. Something is wrong with my audio when I go live. So this video will be available for you on YouTube whenever you want. I'm here to talk about one-on-ones with teammates. I think we get involved in Posh and we love the products and we share the products, and then we get our first teammate and we're like, I don't know exactly what to do. And then a lot of us sort of wing it for a while and, do what we can. But it actually was about 3 years into being with Posh, maybe 2 years as a premier, before I realized maybe I should be talking one-on-one with my teammates. I did a lot of video trainings. I would go live on my team page periodically with random thoughts that I wanted to train on, but I wasn't having more than chit chats in private message with my team members. I don't know any of them in real life. I met everybody on the internet, so it's not like we had existing relationships either. And then I was given a one-on-one by one of the people in business development. Her name was Jennifer Johnson, and she sent me a form before our meeting, and I filled it out for her, and it asked a lot of questions that was sort of like set a baseline and helped her kind of know what I was about, where I was struggling, where I felt like I had strengths, like what my team looked like, things like that. And I was like, oh, that's really smart. And then we had a phone call, which was terrifying because, people don't talk on the phone very much anymore. And it was, of course, not as bad as I expected. I was freaked out, and it's just fine talking on the phone. I can kind of remember doing it in the 90s. So we chatted, and it was really productive. I was able to take notes. We were able to get to know each other a little bit. The conversation flows so differently when you actually talk on the telephone. And I was very resistant to this idea for a long time, so I understand that resistance. But I have to tell you, it's a freaking game changer. Having one-on-ones with your team and having them over the phone or using voice chat if you just can't get the scheduling right, but definitely try as much as you can to get on the phone with your people. Having one-on-ones, especially at the beginning of the month, to set goals and sort of get an idea of where people are. You can hear their tone of voice. You can hear when you suggest something, how they really feel about it, because it's real-time conversation. So I'm going to share how I do one-on-ones, how I decide who to do them with, why I think they're valuable, and then I'm also going to post the notes, the outline from this for people who are more visual learners, with a little chart of SMART goal setting that I like to reference when I need a little guidance or I'm exhausted. So if you have questions about anything, just definitely drop them below. We can talk more about it. I'm also going to address the questions that were dropped in the group that I asked. I was asking for questions yesterday, so I'll try to address those. So the first thing I always think about is, okay, who am I going to give a one-on-one to? You don't want to give them to everyone on your team. First, because who has time for that? Second, there are people who basically, I don't want to say don't deserve one-on-ones, but they're not really in a place where a one-on-one would necessarily be valuable. Maybe a one-on-one that's different than what I'm talking about, but what I'm talking about here is the one-on-ones that are for building your business and for building up your potential business builders, because the name of the game is growing our teams and empowering them and getting them focused. So I ask who's earned my time. It has to be someone who's actually going to apply what I say. We have people on our teams who don't always, they ask questions, but they don't apply the answers, and it happens over and over, and it's exhausting. Maybe they're not the person you want to dedicate your time to. Your time is your greatest resource. It's really valuable, so you want to focus on income-producing activities. And in this case, spending your time chatting with people, you want to make sure you're chatting with people who also are focused on being productive and learning and applying what they learn. So I usually focus on my up-and-coming leaders. I focus on people who are actually trying to build, people you can tell are real and are doing something real with their business. They're committed to working. They've heard your feedback. They apply it. They ask good questions. And then also, obviously, your newest teammates and anyone that you can tell wants to relaunch and is legitimately going to do it. I think a lot of people talk about relaunch over and over, but never really follow through when they're relaunching. So it's like the weakest relaunch ever. If you have people who are consistently doing that, maybe they're not the right one for your one-on-ones, because you have to set aside time to speak with each of them for an hour, and we only have so many hours we can do that in. So you can just decide ahead of time what the criteria is. For me, they have to be above pink, unless it's a special case of someone who I've gotten to know really well and I trust will actually take actionable items and do them. I like to make sure it's someone who's consistently participating in the team page. Like, I know they know what's going on in Posh. I don't want to have to answer questions they could have answered themselves by looking in the newsroom during a one-on-one. I usually make sure they're people who are interacting with the existing trainings on the team page, because I know that they want to learn. And if someone cancels and reschedules multiple times, I just let them know. Basically, I don't use the word probation, but I let them know, let's take a break for a couple of months and we'll do a one-on-one then. Like, I'm going to let you get things together. My time is really limited, and these last-minute cancellations just can't be happening. I do it in a nice way, and especially those kinds of things should be said through voice message, because they can hear your tone of voice is kind. Reading that could be really infuriating if they read the wrong tone. So the next question is when. I always do them at the beginning of the month. The first 7 days, I offer one-on-ones to the selected people that I think will be able to use them. I also sometimes post in my team page asking who's interested in a one-on-one. And if people who respond, some of the people who respond are not ones I really want to take the phone time for, I will still do like a mini one-on-one via chat and get a feel for where they're at. If they can prove through the chat messages that they're for real and they're going to do something and they're able to follow instructions and they know what's going on in Posh, then I might add them to my one-on-one list based on that. So you just use your intuition. I also, with certain people, do one-on-ones in the middle of the month. I feel that out based on if they're struggling a lot, based on what they said they wanted to do and where they are in the middle of the month. Or if people are really engaged in our conversations, are super productive, and it's like actually beneficial to both of us to have another live conversation, I'll do mid-month. But usually I do PMs to check in mid-month on the original conversation, and I do that mid-month, and then toward the end of the month via DMs or PMs. Most check-ins, I think, can be handled that way and don't need to be on the phone. The reason I'm doing all of this is to help keep them focused on their goals, to make sure that they're looking at the steps, not just the big picture, but the details, the forest and the trees. I want to be able to track their progress. I want them to visually be tracking their progress by having to be accountable to me in the conversation we had, having to be accountable to themselves and show up at those check-ins with things that are completed. I want to be there to help them brainstorm, to troubleshoot any issues when we check in. When we say, like, how do you think October went, they can talk about what went well, what didn't go well in our one-on-one in November, and then we can make a plan based on that information. And then obviously to continue to build my relationship with them. The more you chat on the phone, the closer you get, and the more they trust you, and the more invested in the team they are, and more invested in their business and Posh. They feel part of something, and they know that you care, that they're not just a name in your downline report. So here's the nitty-gritty, the how. I always look at it like there's 5 steps. Goals, strategy, planning, execution, and then evaluation. The first 3 things happen in the one-on-one. So goals, I help them set SMART goals, and we know, we've seen SMART goals, what that is. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based, and then making sure they understand what that means, and then helping them define, like, how to measure their goals, how to know if they've achieved it, how to make sure that it is attainable. Sometimes you have to be the one to sort of reality check, like, that is a great goal, let's pare it down, and if you hit this goal by this time, you can always expand your goal, you can always change it. But if it's like they usually get 200 PV a month and they're aiming for 2,000, maybe you don't want to shoot that far right away. Like, this is an incremental growth situation. And then from there, after they've laid out their goals, and usually I base them on, what are your PV goals? What are your team volume goals? What are your team building goals? How many people do you want to add this month? What do you want to pay for this month? Do you want to get the monthly award? And then I ask them, we move on to strategy. So, okay, cool. You want to do all these things. Great. How are you going to do it? What methods are you, if you're looking for that much PV, how many parties are you holding? And ask a little bit about those parties. Make sure they have enough parties to hit that goal. Like, okay, if you're doing this through parties, you think you'll get 500 from your VIPs, and you want to do a 2,000 and you're doing 3 parties, that means each party should be 500. And they need to know this, like look at it broken down, because if you set goals and then you're sort of wishy-washy with it and you don't think about how, you get to the 20th of the month and you have not come anywhere close, and then they feel defeated, they don't know where to go, they're so far behind they might not do anything. So we want to like set the specific goals, break them down into pieces. Strategize how you'll make it happen. If your team volume, you want a certain amount of team volume, okay, who on your team is going to help contribute to that volume? Let's look at the report, let's name the people and do the math. You don't have to necessarily tell them you are responsible for 300 and you are responsible for 400, but you need to know in your mind based on what they usually do and what you know they have going on. Like say, for example, on your level 2 for this level 1 you're chatting with, then you can make good guesses about what they might be able to contribute, so you know if it's an attainable goal at all. If they have 2 people on their team and only one of them is consistent and they want to get $3,000 in volume and only 1,000 of it is going to be theirs, like, okay, where is the 2,000 coming from? If you add that new team member you said you wanted to add and you launch them, that's probably like 350, 500 right there. And so you talk it through and you write it all down. I keep really good notes about everything that we talk about so that after the meeting I can send it to them in PM written out, sort of like meeting minutes. Like, this is what we talked about, and then I'm going to talk to you again next week at this, same time. I'm just going to send you a PM and check in so they know you're coming back. We talked about these things and we're going to talk about them again. So that's the strategy, and then the planning. That's the detail. So how are you going to do it? Now let's get in detail, plan it out, describe in detail the steps that go into that strategy. And I always ask them, okay, so you set these goals, but they don't all line up. If you want to get to this, you need to do a little bit more. How do you feel about me suggesting that you speak with 5 people today about hosting an event? Or I would like to see if you can offer the opportunity to 3 people this weekend. Do you think you can do that? They almost always say yes. So I'm giving them goals, but I'm letting them agree to them first. These are usually just little actionable items they can do that will help them get to those different pieces that they need to land their goal. It's like homework, and it gives them a place to focus on the activities that they need to be doing regularly all the time. It gives them practice. Like, okay, you did that this past weekend, do it again this weekend. Like, you need to be doing this consistently and you'll see results. So then they go out and do the thing. You set up a time at the end of that conversation to chat again, and when you do, the point is just going to be to evaluate. Okay, so we set these goals. How are they going? Did you do the homework that we set out that we decided on? If not, why? Let's figure out what the block is. Let's figure out another way to complete the task differently than you tried, because that's not working. Whatever it is, you're basically just doing an evaluation, looking at what happened, what didn't happen, readjusting goals if you need to, because now you have one less week to do everything in. And basically just offering your guidance, any wisdom you have. If you are at a loss, if you're just like, I don't really know what to say or how to help, you can tell them, okay, well, now I have all this information. Let me think about this a little bit, and I can get back to you and give them, I have a low battery, give them a time that you're going to get back with them, and then you can go talk to your upline or go chat with some friends that have similar goals that are also leaders and tell them the situation without names, and see what kind of ideas they have. Like, you are not an island. We are a huge community of people who have a lot of different experiences, a lot of different knowledge from a lot of different areas. So you don't have to know everything to be able to do a one-on-one. So then they go out and execute, they come back, you're evaluating what works, what isn't. So that's goals, strategy, planning, execute, evaluate. And then again, you set another date. So I usually check in with my frontline at the beginning of the month, the end of the month, the middle of the month. If someone seems like they are really struggling, I might do more check-ins, but that's like on you. And every time I say I'm gonna do something, I do it, because that is my job. So I write it down in my planner when I say I'm gonna touch base with them, and then I do it. It does not take a long time to send a message or a voice message just to be like, hey, just checking in on those goals. They're not gonna trust you to do one-on-ones. They're not gonna show up to one-on-ones if you do all of these conversations and then you don't do your part. Like, part of our job as a leader is we're showing them, while we're doing the one-on-ones, how to do one-on-ones. We're giving them the structure that they can replicate, and then they can do one-on-ones with their team. So as they get more comfortable and they understand, you can even make it a goal within their goals to do their own one-on-ones. And I have done group one-on-ones, so I guess that's not a one-on-one, one-on-one-on-one, where we sort of do it together so they can kind of see where I'm pulling out more information and how I do it. So that is how I do it. To answer some questions, Shailene Fisher asked if I take initiative and reach out individually. Yes, I used to post, hey, who wants a one-on-one? And the same 3 people would say they do, and that was great. But there were a lot of people I still wanted to talk to. So I started saying, going directly to people versus, in private message and being like, hey, I think it would be great if we could have a one-on-one. Would you like one? And they'd be like, yes, I was just putting it off. Like, a lot of people just need that extra push because they don't want to sign up, or they're like commitment phobic, or they're really busy. But when it's just like doing parties. It's just like asking people to join. You have to have the one-on-one conversation that will sometimes make all the difference. The best way to ask if they need help without sounding pushy. I don't think anything about being a leader. I don't worry about being pushy. I'm not demanding. I'm not like, you need to do this. I'm not rude, but it is my job. So, hey, I'm just doing my job, just like our job to offer Posh to people. Our job is also to offer our services to our team. So I just say, hey, would you like a one-on-one? It'd be great if we want to talk about goals. I can help you, plan it out in more detail, make sure we can make this happen. I don't think that's pushy. If they're like, no, thank you, I'm like, okay. That I've done my part. That's not on me if they don't want to. If you have people asking the same question, jump on the team page, do a training. Yes, I do that all the time. And I think one-on-ones aren't really supposed to be training. It's a great opportunity to find out what common themes there are. Like, oh, this is coming up a lot. A lot of people are struggling with this. Let me focus a unit on that and do some trainings, invite some speakers or something. People have asked, I need to charge my phone while I'm talking. People have asked, how do I get my team motivated to have a one-on-one? The short answer is you can't. That's my belief. I don't think that it's possible to make people want to do a one-on-one, because the whole point is that you cannot run their business for them. You can offer your services, you can offer your knowledge, but you can't do it for them. And motivation is something that we just can't get. We can inspire, we can excite, we can attempt to do that. If you have a successful one-on-one, one thing that I like to suggest is posting about it on your team page, or having them be like, hey, would you post on a team page like that we had our one-on-one and what you got out of it, or how helpful it was? Because sometimes people don't really get what it is. But then seeing that someone had special time with you and they found value in it, sometimes that makes all the difference. They're like, oh, I want one of those. I want to see what that's about. It's not like if they do one, they're committed for life to doing a bunch. Like, this is marketing. You're marketing it to them. But, if people aren't even setting goals, like on your team page, if you have like a goal setting post, we have one at the beginning of every month where I give them all the information that's going to go on in the month in one pinned announcement, and then I have them all set their goals in a specific format in the bottom. If they want to be eligible to win anything I happen to do that month in terms of prizes or challenges, they have to have their goals there. I will draw a winner and then check. And if they don't, then they're not engaged enough. I'm not going to... It's a two-way street, Like, if you're not engaged, I can't offer a lot of my time and energy because this is a business. So if you don't have anyone who wants a one-on-one and you ask every single one and they're like, not really setting goals, not really wanting a one-on-one, your heavy focus, more than spending that time on the existing team members, is to be getting new team members, which is obviously easier said than done. But fresh blood, fresh perspectives, fresh energy coming into the group with people who are excited to start their business sometimes reignites other people's excitement. They just need to have that vibe, especially when we're not all going to in-person events. It's like one of the only ways we can get people pumped is in our team page to create a team environment. But yeah, if you don't have anybody that's doing it, you've got to get new people. You have to get people who want to work and who are excited. And how do you do that? There are a million trainings out there on various ways you can attempt to recruit. I don't love that. I think it sort of reinforces some negative ideas about what direct sales is about, just because it sounds like you're recruiting people for war or something. So I just like team building, but sponsoring, whatever. I think that's all of the questions. I don't use a checklist, Shanae. I just have my set sort of outline of like, what I said, goals, then setting the strategy, then doing the detailed planning, and then scheduling a follow-up to evaluate after they've executed something. But I think it would be good to make some kind of checklist. I'm not going to make any promises right now because my planner is already out of hand, but I can do that. And if I do, I will definitely share it here in the files so that someone has something to look at. But I'm going to post my notes, and I'm going to post my favorite SMART goals graphic for everybody if you want to print it out and keep it in front of you when you do your phone calls. But yeah, let me know if you have any comments or questions or concerns, if I should elaborate on anything. This is already over 20 minutes, so hopefully you've gotten everything you need from it. And I would love to hear other people who do one-on-ones, like how you do it, because there are so many ways you can do it. You just got to figure out what works for you and your people. I'm very rational and organized and focused in regards to these things because an hour goes by fast, especially when you chit chat, but it's definitely worth it. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks.